Yo, what is up everybody? John from Tau Tactics here, bringing you another video. Today we're going to be walking through my experience running 15 rampagers at a local RTT, so actually 50 players. We're going to walk through round by round my experience. We're going to go through the matchups, some plays that I could have done better for sure, and then also toward the end we're going to walk through some edits that I would make to this list. You can find the current list from the RTT down below. You'll notice there aren't any ads on today's video. That's because I've officially partnered with Secondhand Geek. Now, if you haven't heard of Secondhand Geek, they're, in my opinion, the best place to buy and sell Warhammer miniatures online. If you're like me, starting out in the hobby, or even today, you probably try to shop pretty frugally, but have maybe even gotten burned. I myself remember losing 120 bucks super early on in the hobby, and it really sucked. One really cool thing that Secondhand Geek does is they actually hold payment to the seller until the buyer receives their item, and if you didn't get what you paid for, or it's in completely different condition, you're completely covered. And then from a seller's perspective, Secondhand Geek charges just a fraction of the fees that other online marketplaces do. So you're getting the most bang from your buck, as well as buyers seeing that reflected in the selling prices. In addition to that, they even kick back a portion of every sale to local game stores. So if you want to support your hobby and your local game community while buying and selling minis at the best rates, I highly recommend checking my affiliate link down below to sign up with Secondhand Geek, start buying up that new army, or selling down your backlog. So, round 1 into Monster Mash Nids. Not exactly the matchup that I wanted to see, but honestly a good test for the 15 Rampagers. So, we'll see how they do here. They do let me down a little bit, but I think they're still pretty dang good regardless. So, this is where we deploy. So, pretty standard deployment. We have this 3-man Rampager unit positioned to go defend my natural. We have this unit here. Because we're playing Linchpin, we want to make sure that we can threaten the middle and our opponent potentially putting anything tough there. We have our Enforcer Commander with the extra OC with his trash units ready to push this natural expansion. Now you'll see our opponent, interestingly, other than many other armies in the game, they have a way of easily putting 15 OC on the point. So I have an interesting problem here of trying to deny his Norn from getting onto this point as quickly as possible. You'll see we'll try to do it, but I barely miss out. So we have the Kroot Carnivores ready to go to the middle to scout on if I go first, so I can sticky the middle and my home. And we'll move right to the scout phase. So, my thoughts with scouting this stuff forward is let's just push everything up when we can. We're going first. We need to push the momentum, force my opponent to step out. So after our scouting, you'll see that we sticky the middle, which again I think is really, really good in this position to potentially force a resource out, a big resource, which is the advantage that I have playing Aux Cadre, so I want to push that pace. And I think this is where I make a big mistake. So what I do is I move up the Pathfinders, I kind of stage these Rampagers ready to go to the middle if they need to, and two things here, two critical mistakes. So first, he has a move through enemy model strat. So what I was trying to do here was make it so that he could not land on this objective, which he definitely could not land in this exact spot. What I didn't think of was my opponent clearing my models this way and then charging on this way. So if I had moved these guys about like an inch or a half an inch back, just measured 3 inches from here, I think I would have just accomplish my goal of making sure this Norn doesn't get to this objective, and then I can easily send Vespid here to deny just because all he has over here is this Death Leaper. The other mistake here I got is, I picked up Containment and No Priz. I wasn't super concerned about No Prisoners, but what I did want to do was force a real resource onto the middle objective. Because I had stickied it, I just moved the Kroot Carnivores back, saved the resource. But what I should have done here is I should have scouted the Rampagers aggressively and used them for what they're good at, which is picking up trash. I think if I scout them 7 here, move 7, I probably have a 5 or 6 inch charge, and I can kill this for free, and then he has to spend a CP or advance a Maliceptor onto the middle, at which point we can start tussling over the middle, which is really what I want to do. I don't really want to be sending a ton of resources this way. I want to have a fight over the middle where I have my broadsides ready to go. I have my 6-man Rampagers. I've got my Melta Ghost Kill, and so you'll see here that I throw a grenade at this guy, and it ends up not working out for me. So this is my opponent's movement phase. So he moves up the Maliceptors. He passes his Battle Shock here. You'll see he spends the strat to jump his Norn over here. So I do have one benefit this way, which is he's going to have to charge me and stand out in the open to get onto the point effectively. So I know I'm going to have a shot at killing this thing in my turn. He picked up Engage on all fronts here, which he ends up getting with this Maliceptor. And This is his shooting phase, or sorry, after his fight phase. So you'll see he picks up the Pathfinders over here. He picks up the Kroot Hounds, gets his Norn onto the objective. So now I'm really poised to take a good shot at this Norn right now. So as you can see, I step out, I put more resources onto the middle, I line up this the Lone Spear to hopefully just kill this Lictor in shooting, and then you'll see my opponent. He's going to, and I knew this was coming, and I really didn't have a good plan to deal with it. So it's something I need to think about a little bit more. But he ends up rapid ingressing Raveners to help deny primary on my natural. We push out, we put Vespid on this point because he has the Death Leaper back here. I want to make sure if I do get the kill, which I believe I have enough resources here to get the kill between 2 Ion Hammerheads, a unit of Broadsides, and a Meltago Skill. Now, ends up not working out in my favor, but I think that having this guarantee, if it goes well for me, to deny the primary is an aggressive play that I have to make, going first into what I would say is a pretty rough matchup for me. So, you'll see my opponent. This is going to be in his turn. So after, I believe maybe his movement phase. Yes, he moved already. So he moves the Raveners out to charge the Stealth Suits. He ends up deep striking these Gargoyles here to deny my primary, and he moves them onto this objective. The Norn actually survives on 2 wounds. I think I get 3 shots through with broadsides. I roll pretty low on damage. Probably could have used a CP there to reroll. I think I had 1 or 2 twos in there to help try and actually take him out, because now this is a really big problem, right? He has a Norn behind a wall with 15 OC that I can't really interact with. So what I do in response is rapid ingress a 6-man Rampager unit. Now my thought process going into this was I'm going to rapid ingress. He has to be on the wall because where this objective is. Now what I can do is spend for reroll wounds, spend for extra AP, and really, between the charged mortals and the 3 guys with reroll wounds and extra AP, I should be able to take him out. One other thing my opponent does, which I was really happy to see, was he moves out the Hive Tyrant. So now he's going to charge and try to tie these guys up. And what I'm thinking here is, okay, let's say he picked up Area Denial, and I want to say it was Extend. So he picks up Area Denial, so all I'm thinking here is this guy only has 6 attacks, sure he'll probably take out 3 Rampagers, but I can interlocking maneuvers onto the middle and try to secure some primary this way. So as you can see, in his turn, he charges the Hive Tyrant. He picks up the 3 Rampagers. He charges the Raveners over here, and they actually don't kill the Stealth Suits. They have to stay engaged with this Stealth Suit here, so I have an opportunity to score primary here. I know that I end up having 2 Carnivores alive, which is perfect because I can buff their OC with the Commander. This is pre-interlocking maneuvers, so we'll show you what it looks like afterwards. On the way out, the Rampagers, I want to say they deal 4 wounds to the Hive Tyrant, which is pretty sick. But now we have a chance here and here to potentially score primary in a turn where I know my opponent's popping Shadows. So he does pop Shadows. We fail a bunch of Battle Shocks. We actually pass these 2. We get really lucky, so we still get the 8 on primary. We stick it our home in the middle. Or sorry, at the beginning of the game, so we now hold this. And then this Rampager fails, which is sad because we needed that in order to score this extra primary. But I feel like we're in a pretty good position. Now, one thing that I had tunnel vision about was this Rampager unit, because it was Battle Shock, no longer can use any strats. So I didn't really realize, and this isn't on my opponent at all, I don't think it changes my decision making at any point. I was already committed to this line, but he also has access to a -1 to hit strat. So this Norn on 2 wounds all of a sudden becomes really precarious for me. Now, I pick up Bring It Down and I pick up Bring It Down and Storm Hostile here. So one cool little interaction happens is because my opponent controls this before I give extra OC to, I believe it's the Carnivores, I then control this objective, or he controls it at the beginning of this turn, so then I score Storm Hostile immediately once I give them extra OC. So what I do is I go through with my plan. I bring out an Ion Hammerhead on the bottom of the table here to try to do as much damage as possible. Bring out the Rampagers. I line up this guy right here for the Hive Tyrant in case the broadside's whiff, and also to potentially take care of these Gargoyles. I line up this Hammerhead to take out these Raveners, and I've basically given up on holding this entirely. I am just hoping that my opponent doesn't get there to hold it himself. So what ends up happening is We take out the Hive Tyrant, we charge in. You'll see there's a lot less Rampagers right now. We don't do nearly any damage with these two Ion Hammerheads. They basically whiff completely, which honestly, in hindsight, is probably okay because I would have just been giving this Tyrannifex and this Exocrine +1 to hit, and which would have been awful. But what ends up happening is we charge the Rampagers in. He uses -1 to hit. We don't have access to our offensive strats because of the Shadows and the Warp, and we end up leaving this Norn on 2 wounds. So this is a massive swing in the game. I think it is pretty much what lost me the game, outside of the other mistakes that I made early, which certainly did not help. But this was a 4-point swing on Bring It Down, and then a 5-point swing on his primary, which again, I know I need to influence at some point if I want a chance to win the game. If I remember correctly, we deal with this Hive Tyrant pretty trivially. We charge these guys in, we charge the Kroot into the Gargoyles to take them out. Iron Hammerhead takes care of the Raveners. So we're about to take a punch, a pretty hard punch here. Really unfortunate what happened with these Rampagers over here, but we're hoping that with this pressure, we can at least hold him eventually off of this point. So we'll see my opponent moves up, he gets ready to charge. What does he pull for secondaries? He gets Overforce and Assassinate. So one thing that I did here to guarantee these Gargoyles dying was peek out my Enforcer Commander. Now, I do believe this was a mistake, because I had enough guns, I think, to take out this Hive Tyrant, and between the Lone Spear and the Carnivores, I think I really could have just taken out this Gargoyle unit with them alone. So I got a little greedy, poked out the Enforcer Commander to kill some of the Gargoyles, and ended up paying the price as he immediately picks up Assassinate and has a easy line with a Tyrannifex to my Enforcer Commander, who won't have a save, or maybe a 6-up, but he gets smoked immediately by this Tyrannifex. He pushes up all these monsters to take care of this side of the table. This Maliceptor is now threatening to hold this objective, so I'm in a little bit of a pickle as to how to deal with this stuff. And I believe this is after his shooting phase, so hilariously enough, he points all of his guns at these hammerheads. He kills the one hammerhead. The hammerhead explodes and finally takes out his Norn that was holding this objective. So got a lucky break there. He takes out the Rampager over here. He takes out the Stealth Suit. And then goes on to charges. So he charges into the middle with the Tyrannifex. I heroic here just to do some more damage to this Tyrannifex. I know my other units are going to be busy with things like Maliceptors, and this Exocrine, and this Death Leaper that charged and killed these Rampagers. So my thought process here is I need to hold my opponent to ideally a 3 on primary. So that means I need to take out 2 of these 3 monsters and deny primary on the other ones. So let's see. Yep, perfect. So this is after interlocking maneuvers plus my movement phase. So I interlocking maneuvers these guys back just to get some more damage here with the charge mortals, and also so that I can shoot this guy into combat with his blast gun so that I can get the rerolls to hit. I move the hammerhead onto this objective, and because in Crusher the monsters are OC6, if they're undamaged, I know that if I can at least just do some amount of damage to him, just 1 damage, he'll be OC4, he will not hold this point, and then I can try to take out these guys and these guys to potentially deny his primary. So what I end up doing is I do decide to put the broadsides into the Exocrine because they are just a much better profile. They essentially ignore his saves. They're AP4, much less efficient than the Maliceptor, which I don't think I kill, so I go for the much more consistent play. I just line these Vespid up within 6 to just do some amount of chip damage here. They got nothing better to do. And so at the end of my shooting phase, or excuse me, this is the end of the charge phase, we do end up picking up this Tyrannifex. We end up picking the Exocrine. We are just now getting stuff on objective, so we charge the Hammerhead in, tie this guy up, and now it's our opponent's turn. He does get the 3 on primary, picks up Storm Hostile, which is super trivial. All he has to do is kill Shadowsun, and from here he starts picking up everything I have. So he takes out the Ghost Keel and the Hammerhead down here, and so now what happens is I actually send these Rampagers over here to try to take out this Maliceptor. If I don't kill him, he will score this 100% in his turn, because he's going to end up taking out Shadowsun and the 2 Rampagers. So I try to preemptively try to take him out. The broadsides whiff, and so we're left in a pretty rough spot here where it's pretty much guaranteed that he's going to get this objective and this objective, and it's just going to come down to secondaries, which he only needed to score 4 on to win the game. So you'll see he picks up He picks up Containment and Defend Stronghold, which is an easy win for him. So he does kill Shadowsun. This was unnecessary because of scoring the secondaries that he had, but we wanted to see how many points he was going to score. So he does take out Shadowsun on the Rampagers, just moves this guy into the point, and that's GG's. So good game to Chris. I thought it was really well played. Definitely didn't help myself out there a ton with some of the mistakes early on. You can tell how that Kroot Hound play cost me a bunch of resources trying to make up for it, and same thing with the play on the middle. I could have forced out monsters, and I think if those two things at the very beginning, if I do them correctly, if I charge the Rampagers into his Lictor, and I move block correctly with the Croutons, I think I'm actually in a really good spot to do really well in this game. All right, so round number 2 into Thousand Suns. So our opponent has a pretty good list for us to deal with. He's got the 2 Mutalisks, with which the Rampagers do really well into. He's got, I think, 4 or 5 bricks of the Flamer Marines with the characters. He's got all the good enhancements. He's got a Demon Prince. Magnus is staged up in the back. So what I want to do here is know it's Scorched Earth, and I know that I can control the pace of primary pretty well, regardless of if I go first or second. So I want to put myself in a position to really capitalize on going first. Again, I want the Rampagers to be in a position to threaten the middle should he want to put a Mutalith here. I have the Pathfinders ready to scout behind this little piece right here, and hold back my opponents from getting onto my natural. So we do end up going first here, and this is our movement phase. So what we end up doing is we hide a bunch of Pathfinders here. Now again, I want to be aggressive and start forcing resources out early. So I decide to put the Ghost Keel plus these Rampagers in this little bubble here to force him to start dealing with this problem. And if he doesn't, he's not going to score this primary for free, right? These guys will then just deal with the cultists that, if they did want to come up here, fairly easily. And so it also gives us an opportunity, right, if he decides to double move these Rubric Marines over here and take out these Pathfinders, to potentially score primary with these guys as well, seeing as his Scorched Earth. So this is going to be the end of our, and then we pick up, what do we pick up? Extend and Recover. So we end up recovering with Shadowsun. Our opponent is in kind of a sticky position here because he ends up pulling Secure and Area Denial. So what he ends up going for is he double moves this Mutalith onto the middle. Now, something that he kind of mentioned that we talked about a little bit after the game, but he said, I might as well just move this guy up as far as possible when I have the movement, which I think was a small misplay. I think he really wants this Mutalith to barely be within 3 inches, like right around here, so that's as far of a charge for my Rampagers as possible. Because he has a 4-up save, the Rampagers are really good with reroll wounds into this target, so making my charge easier, me not having to worry about it, makes it a lot easier for me to make the decision, hey, we're just going to go all in with the Rampagers, just reroll wounds with them, and we don't have to worry about a 6 or a 7 that we could potentially fail even with a reroll. He lines up this guy over here, do some damage to the Rampagers, doesn't do a ton of work, and then he puts Magnus out here. Now, one thing I want to talk about at this stage of the game is I think if I try to chew on this guy, and Magnus the same turn, I think that's where this game could go left for me, because I need to commit, I think, as much resources as possible to killing Magnus. Like, I need to guarantee that he dies when I step out all of my guns that can deal with him to take care of him. So I know that if I can stay pretty safe here and shoot these 2 broadsides up here with this Iron Hammerhead and Shadowsun, and pretty comfortably take out this Mutalith. Same thing with these Rampagers. I feel pretty confident between them shooting and a Ghost Keel and Charge Mortals and reroll wounds that we have a pretty good opportunity to take that out as well. So if I was committing extra resources here, that's where if I swing down up here with these 3 units, then it could get really awkward for me, where I'm not activating the broadsides into this Mutalith. It's alive. Magnus is alive and can just move up and kill all of my guns that are best suited to take out Magnus. So I went with a little bit of a safer playing, knowing I was a little bit up on the scoreboard here. So we do end up taking out both Mutaliths. I think got a little bit lucky on the broadsides, if I remember correctly. We did move up these Pathfinders to continue with this move block over here, make sure that these Rubric Marines that are hiding in here can't really affect my natural at all. We take an aggressive line with these Rampagers and take out his cultists just to remove another resource while we can, and make it even more uncomfortable for him to hold his natural expansion. As you can see, he moves up Magnus to help deal with this Ghost Keel and deal with this side of the board. He ends up charging in his Demon Prince. I, in response, rapid my Rampagers to deal with this side of the table. There's a unit of Rubric Marines plus this Demon Prince over here, and this is kind of the point where Magnus is in a little bit of an awkward spot, so what I want to do is kind of force him to interact with me a little bit more. We pick up, I believe it is Secure and... Yeah, we pick up Secure and Behind, so we end up... Oh, this is actually my following turn. Right now, we pick up Cleanse. So we end up cleansing here, and basically passing the turn to my opponent. Oh, excuse me. This is now my movement phase. So what we end up doing, and I think this is actually my following turn, what we end up doing is we get all these Rampagers on this point, ready to burn the middle. We move up the Vespid again to screen over here, and we push for one more denial of my opponent's primary, so he just gets his home. The 6-man Rampagers clean up pretty much everything. I think I leave the Demon Prince on 2 wounds maybe, but we have enough OC to take that point out. We force him to kind of make a decision, like either you're going to kill these Rampagers and deny this point and I still get the 10, or you can kind of move him in a more safe place this way. But at this point, as you can see from the scoreboard, this game is pretty much over because of the 2 Mutalith plays, so we're going to kind of zip through this really quickly. So Magnus comes down to the bottom. He ends up taking out the Rampagers. He charges, doesn't pile onto the objective because he doesn't want to get seen by all my guns. We complete the burn in the middle, pick up No Prison Overforce, and pick up his Rubric Marine squad. Let's see. Yeah, we pick up this Rubric Marine squad over here. With Overforce, we get behind enemy lines with this unit over here. And then in his movement phase, he moves up Magnus, he shoots my Hammerhead, kills it, charges these stealth suits. And from here, we're just rolling dice and having a good time. So in my turn, whoops, what ends up happening is I have broadsides that are over here. I roll in advance. They do a bazillion damage to Magnus. I point every other gun in my army at him just for fun, and so we end up taking him out at the end, even with -1 damage, and the free rerolls, blank damage, and whatnot. So great game with Brian, but I think my list was just very well suited to deal with the units that he had. Really, if I could draw up a Thousand Suns list, that would be easiest for me to kill. The 2 Mutaliths and the 5 Rubric Marine units would be the ones. So we got round 3 into my former roommate Caleb. So Caleb's running Grey Knights. He's running the new detachment. I want to say he had 4 Big Knights, a couple units of the Strike Marines, 1 Move Shoot Move unit, and he had the Crow Brick. So that's the 10 dudes with anti-infantry 2 up, and the Deep Striking character that has +3 to charge out of Deep Strike. So we're playing Purge here. He ends up going first, which is obviously really great for me. I think one of the things about this matchup that's a little unfortunate is Purge the Foe is very heavily favored towards the person going second, and also being Grey Knights kind of doubles down on that, right? If he's going first on Purge and he's Grey Knights, where he can't uppy downy turn 1, it makes it really awkward for him. So I think got a little bit of luck there going first. So you'll see we scout up here, or sorry, this is his after his movement phase. He picks up extend battle lines and bring it down. So great, so happy to see bring it down, get out of the way. Extend battle lines is great for me also because it forces a resource out here. He's not in a position to interact with any of my units, so he scouts his strike squad here. He moves up these guys into this pocket to potentially threaten over here. But now I have an opportunity to get a kill turn 1 when he didn't get a kill. So my thought process here is I want to move this Ion Hammerhead here, take a shot. We'll put a stealth suit unit out, and as you can see, I was already thinking, okay, well, if I'm going to be giving up this unit, this stealth suit unit, I know Caleb can just pick up a bunch of knights, put them over here to take out this Hammerhead, so I might as well push this back to make it a little bit awkward for him, because this stealth suit, I'm going to lose it anyways, while I'm committing resources, many resources on Purge, or some resources on Purge, that I know I'm not going to be able to get the resource advantage on the back end. I might as well commit as many as possible if I'm going to get kill more, or if I'm going to give him kill more. So that way, I'm not trickling my units to him in a way that he can just pick me off, 2 units at a time when I can only interact with 1 of his. So what I do is I move up the Pathfinders, deny this point, because I don't really want to put these. I don't roll a big enough advance, I believe, to put these guys on this objective, and I don't want to give him hold more for free. We step out this Iron Hammerhead, basically just stage with the rest of our army. We're just kind of waiting for Caleb to make his first move because the onus is on him, again, going first on Purge. So as you can see, for my shooting phase, I only kill 2.5 of these Strike Marines. Pretty rough, honestly, but totally fine because we're getting the extend, we're ditching a card, we're really well positioned to deal with potential clapback from my opponent. Now, one thing I will say that I realized, and we're going to talk about it right here, we're going to go to the next slide. I realized when Caleb dropped these 2 knights down that I really don't love being spread out like this. I really would have loved to have an Iron Hammerhead in reserves or even the broadsides, because this map is so open with all these sight lines. Like being in this corner, I could push broadsides up. If broadsides show up here, they can shoot pretty into many angles. So I think in hindsight, I probably want just one Iron Hammerhead. I want the broadsides on the board in case he just advances and charges all of his knights up the table and forces me to deal with them with Iron Hammerheads. But as you'll see, in his shooting phase, he ends up pushing these guys up because what did he pick up? He picked up. Oh, so I had Containment Storm Hostile last turn, which is perfect. So that's what these guys were for. They stormed, then I contained twice. He is the one who picked up Extend Battle Lines turn 1, and then now he picks up Area Denial, no Priz. So he goes for Area Denial with these guys. He goes to try to pick up this Hammerhead with these 2 units right here, which is a little bit awkward because he's Strength 10. Moves these guys up and just prepares to take like his first swing at me. So what ends up happening is, as you can see up here, he ends up leaving this Hammerhead on 5 wounds. I high roll a little bit. My saves, I want to say I roll like 3 5s out of 6 or something like that. He then tries to take out these stealth suits with flamers and bolter shots, leaves a guy on 1 wound. And I think these guys move, shoot, move to move blocking me, if I remember correctly. Takes out the Pathfinders to get a 2 on no Priz and to pick up a 4 for his kill. So this point would have felt really great. I think I got really lucky. If this side of the board collapses on me, and I have Vespid, Rampagers, and Shadowsun to deal with these 2 knights, I think I'm in a really, really weird spot because he just basically owns this side of the table. Like I do have a 6-man Rampager unit reserves, but I was considering I was considering rapid ingressing them right here and giving him options to shoot, but went ahead and decided not to because I think he would have just diverted all of his shots there. And as far as odds are concerned, the odds of him killing the Hammerhead were actually kind of fairly low. So moving on to my turn. Oh. So what we end up doing is we push out our Vespid to create a screen. We have Shadowsun here to get some shots down range. I believe this Hammerhead comes here to potentially shoot these guys. I have the Rampagers, again, in a spot where they can potentially deal with these guys if I make a charge here. And so what I've done is basically use the same principle again right here. I'm going to get the kill more because he only got 1 kill as long as things go well. So I want to pick up at least this Dread Knight, this unit, and if I do those 2 things, I'm in a really great spot. I've move blocked him here and created a screen so he can't rapid behind me, even with his 6-inch. And again, when I'm giving away 2 or 3 units to kill, might as well give a bunch. So again, I just create another screen with the Kroot Hounds and just say, hey, if you want to show up on the table, you're going to show up somewhere in this zone, not behind me. So what he does is he rapids this big brick right here to deal with the ghost skill on on his natural and threaten these guys. And so after our shooting phase, you'll see there's 1 less, and this is after our charge phase also, there is 1 less knight here on the table, so we end up high rolling him pretty hot. We fail our hazardous, so we're down to 2 wounds over here. We just fall back this stealth suit because we don't want it to just get randomly killed for a kill, and we do pick up the kill more here and help really solidify our hold on this game. We got Secure No Man's Land, Assassinate. This actually counted for Assassinate, which was great. So we really did good from that perspective. Charge the Rampagers into the middle, pick up this resource, and we're feeling pretty good about where things are going. We still have many of our damage dealers up, and we've taken out a knight and a couple of resources from our opponent already. So what ends up happening here is Caleb gets his hold one. He picks up containment and overforce, which I had a bunch of shit on objective, so didn't really matter that I had Vespid, carnivores, the ramp, or excuse me, the ghost kills there. The ghost kill there because we knew again if we're gonna get we were gonna give up overforce already, so might as well just throw everything onto these objectives. So what we did here is we brought this rampager unit in as a rapid threat so that we can kill as much of this stuff as humanly possible. What we end up doing here is after our movement phase. Oh, this is right as we're charging. We end up putting we put the the broadsides in the middle. They take out one knight. This Hammerhead takes out another knight by himself. We put enough OC on this point. We just use these guys as OC blocks to, excuse me, as OC so we can take him off of that primary if things go poorly for us down at the bottom here. Things do not, by the way. We end up spending for reroll wounds and extra AP on this unit, and the first Rampager unit I think does 24 AP2s for 2 into his Terminator brick. He ends up having to bring these guys down in his movement phase. We kind of talked about it. He was considering bringing them down over here. But if he doesn't bring them down in his movement phase over here, I just rapid 6-man Rampager unit and just take his home immediately. So he was forced to put these guys down over here just to screen. And then we absolutely clean this unit's clock with these Rampagers. It's like not even close. Just insta-kill them. And then going into his turn. But I do believe because he killed a bunch of my trash units, he does end up getting the kill more. Awesome. And then this is in his movement phase. He's essentially stepping a bunch of his units out. At this point, he's pretty down on material, so he's got to go for some risky plays. He brings these guys down for a 6-inch charge out of Deep Strike. Take these guys out. And what did he pick up? He picked up Secure and Storm. So pretty trivial for him. Just needs to take out the Rampagers and then get onto this objective and hold me there. And as you'll see, he does a pretty good amount of damage, shoots a bunch of these Rampagers with his unit before he charges in, and takes out this Hammerhead, takes out a bunch of these guys, but again, we're in a pretty good position to actually clap back here. So what we do is we move these guys up. I want to say we pick up behind enemy lines so we can get that for max. We put a unit of Vespid in his backfield. These broadsides stay still to shoot at this guy. We just move everything up the table. This guy is going to give us reroll hits over here. And we're really just running at him and trying to kill as much as we can. So we do just that. We do a bunch of damage. This is at the end of my shooting phase, I believe. Kill this NDK. We do a bunch of damage over here. We put a bunch of wounds on these guys from the Ion Hammerhead, plus this guy, I think he killed 2 or 3 of them, which was pretty sweet. And then we charge in and we essentially clean up everything that he has left. Alright, so let's cut to the chase. Are 6-man Rampager bricks worth it? And maybe a better question to ask is, are they playable? I think 6-man Rampager bricks are playable. I think they're even good. I don't think that they're optimal. So let's talk a little bit about why. Now, the 6-man Rampager bricks have 2 big downsides in my opinion. One is the charge mortals being variable. You're really relying on those charge mortals in a lot of cases to help you punch up into tough targets. And into that Tyranids game, for example, only getting one dude, one charge mortal, which again is, you can't really, on average you're probably getting 2 through, but only getting the one really hurt me in that case. And then also just delivery. So 1 6-man out of reserves felt really good, but typically what you see with these units is if your opponent's playing it correctly, they will get to hit the Rampager unit first. So let's talk about a little bit about what I would change with this list. One other thing that I was a little underwhelmed by was the Ghost Kill. Now I think in concept it's really cool to have a Ghost Kill with an 18-inch Lone Op unit with the Rampagers, but again, if your opponent just moves into the 18 inches, shoots 4 of the Rampagers off, and you have a Ghost Kill with 3 total Melta shots and 2 Rampagers, it's not really much of a clapback, and you're really just losing a lot of resources for no reason. So I found that even with the Meltas into his ideal targets, I found the Ghost Kill to be really underwhelming. So what I would do here for this list to make it better is I would also drop the Lone Spear. I even thought with 15 Rampagers, he was a little underwhelming. Now, again, I think he's perfectly playable. Like, if you want to put him on the table, don't let me stop you. You can definitely win games with this type of a list. But I would just say that his buff is variable also, right? Let's say you need to kill a monster, so you're not getting blast shots from the blast javelin. You roll a 2 on number of shots, and you roll a 2 and a 3 to hit, right? You're not giving out the buff, and in a lot of cases, he's not super relevant from a scoring perspective because you already have so many other pieces, right? Stealth suits, you got Shadowsun, you got Kroot Vespid, you got tons of stuff to do actions already. So I found him to be pretty efficient for 80 points to be getting 1, maybe 2 full hit rerolls per game. What I was really impressed with, as always, is the broadside unit. I think even with their limitations of speed on the right boards, like layout 2 that I was playing on a couple of times, they're really good. You can give 1 unit assault, so if they're out of position, they can do some work. But I think for Tau right now, they are our key to dealing with stat checks. And I think the combination of move blocking with Aux Cadre, primary denial, and having 2 broadside units for your opponent when they shove on you, I think is a really good combination for the way Aux Cadre wants to play the game. Next, what we're going to do is just optimize points a little bit, just drop a unit of Kroot Hounds so that we can use those points elsewhere. And then because we lost our blender unit into marine equivalents, right? The unit that we want to kill 10-man marine units with 2-up saves or whatnot, we're going to want to reinstate the Fire Knife unit. Now, I think the Fire Knife unit is really great. They've always performed super well for me. And what you can also do with these points is make him a cold start, which is really great because a lot of times you're waiting for your opponent to rapid ingress a big unit that you want to one-shot with the fire knives, and then having that assault and extra movement built in means you're just even more likely to actually get to the spot you need to get him. So what we're going to do here also is just upgrade those hounds to Vespid, just because Vespid are so good in this detachment. I don't think you can really go wrong with more Vespid. And then we're going to upgrade this Crew Carnivore unit, add another Crew Carnivore unit. It's going to be 10 Long Quills. And the reason for that is really having the second screen. You have the first screen that can move out and move block early, and you have the second unit that can just act as high OC that can go then interact with your opponent or objectives in the midfield later on in the game, which is really nice to have, just something ready to just put 20 OC at the end of the game on an objective or force another reaction out of your opponent. So if I was starting with Aux Cadre now, this is the list that I would go with. I think it's really well rounded, has a ton of tools, and I really do think is pretty strong into the meta today. I want to thank everybody who made it to the end of today's video. Really appreciate it. If you could like, comment, and subscribe for the algorithm, that would be awesome. But until next time, I'll catch you guys later. Peace. Thank you as always to the channel patrons. Greatly appreciate your guys' support. If you're interested in joining our Patreon, seeing TTS games between myself and other high-level players, as well as coaching matches and coaching sessions that I have with folks, and you want the opportunity to participate in those, definitely hop in, check out the link in the description below to join the community. Thanks, everybody. Peace.